In this lesson, we'll look at what the root user is, why the root user is so special, and how to work with root permissions. All Linux systems, and for that matter Unix and BSD systems, have a root user. The root user has godlike power over your system. It can do anything. If you're doing good things and not making any mistakes, that's fine. If, however, you make a critical error when you're working as root, the consequences can be devastating for your server. We'll look at a simple command to illustrate the potential problems that can ensue if you make a mistake as root. The rm command removes a file, or a set of files, or a set of files and directories that you specify. So you can see there's a force option. This will override things that would normally result in an error or a prompt. And the -R option does a recursive deletion, meaning anything in the directory you're in and below will be deleted. So let's say you're running as a normal user, not as root, and you have a typo in a command. So you type rm -rf, and then you have the /, which is the root directory, and you're in a hurry and you mean to remove something from your own home directory. You mean to remove something from your own home directory, but you accidentally have a space after the /. rm is going to see this as an argument that doesn't make sense, but it's going to understand remove rf root. So let's see what happens here. Okay, it gives us a warning. rm, it is dangerous to operate recursively on root. Use no preserve root to override this failsafe. So that's nice. Ubuntu built in a nice warning for us, but that is not in a lot of other systems. So let's try with no preserve root. And it's deleting things. But you see it says cannot remove for a lot of things. Those are things that I didn't have permission to remove. So let's stop this. Oh, there it goes. It's already stopped. Let's see if my home directory still exists. Yeah, so it's broken. So as user Theo, I'm kind of stuck here. Let me see if my sudo permissions still work. Oh, that's good. Okay, at least sudo permissions still work. But a whole bunch of stuff couldn't be deleted because I was running as Theo, not as root. Now let's see what happens if I do the same thing as root. So we'll type, well, we'll cd first, get back in our home directory. Then we'll do the same thing, but we'll preface that with sudo, which will make it run as root. What do you think is going to happen? Ooh. Yeah, so so some big problems there. We can't run any commands or anything. This is borked. It's broke. Um, so this operating system is basically toast uh, because we ran it as root. I was wondering when it was showing all these can't removes if it wasn't working. I thought it might have to run as full root, but yeah, it's broke. So if you did not have a backup of this server at this time, and you'd made that mistake, you would have to rebuild. You'd be in trouble. So that's why Ubuntu is so cautious and protective about the root user. So thankfully, this wasn't a real computer here. This wasn't a working virtual machine here. This was a clone of the virtual machine I want to use. So I anticipated doing this, and I made an extra copy. I don't even know if shutdown will work. Yeah. No, I can't even shut it down. So this thing is completely broken. You'll see jokes in some forums when somebody asks a question as a new person, saying, "How do I do this?" When it's obvious that they haven't looked themselves at all for help or the man pages or even just a quick Google search, and somebody will jokingly say, "Just type rm minus rf on root." And this is what would happen if they actually followed those instructions. And of course, put in the override warning. But the similar problems could happen if you're even down a few directories and you have some typo in there that you don't notice. And that's again with just one command with rm. But yeah, that's why you have to be very careful with root. I don't even think I can exit here. Oh, and let me exit. Okay, so let's trash that virtual machine because it is broken. Go power off. Accept the warning and power off. And then just delete that bad boy because it is gone. Delete all files. And then get back on my real Ubuntu server here. You notice when you type passwords in Linux, you often won't see any characters. No stars or asterisks or dots. So that's okay. It is actually taking your password. It's just not showing anything on the screen to protect you. Okay, so now we'll look at how root is handled in Ubuntu. So for Ubuntu, the root user can't even log in. There's no password assigned to it. You could change that behavior, but I recommend against it unless you really, really need to for some reason. Chances are good that you don't need to, even if you think you do. So Google, ask questions in the Ubuntu forums if you think you need to use root, or search the man pages so someone doesn't tell you to do a rm minus rf on your root directory. And just try to find a way around having to do something as root. If you do need to work as root, you could still do that without setting the root password. And you might have seen the way I did that. You go sudo su dash. It'll ask you for your password. You You put that in, hopefully type it right. And you're root. So you don't have to log in as root to become root to do some work. Some simple things are pain in the butt or impossible to do as using sudo. So let's type, see, we are in the /root folder. All the other users' home directories are in the /home directory, but roots is in its own directory. Now if I get out of here and I want to do sudo cd root, oops, let me make, it'll tell me the command isn't found. So even a simple thing like changing directory might not work when you're using sudo. Many things will, so always try first. But sometimes you might have to change to the root user. So most of the time, 99% of the time, what you want to do is work as your own user level, at your own user level, and use the sudo command to run things as root. Use great caution when you're working as root. As you just saw, it can lead to some serious problems. Also, make sure you back up your stuff, so even if you do make a mistake like that, at least you can recover. So just use sudo. Try not to work as root unless you absolutely have to, and be very, very cautious. Many sysadmins I know double check commands whenever they're running as root, just to make sure they don't have a typo and it's going to work as they expect.